You think you know 1972? The year that gave us some of the most memorable one-hit wonders also delivered scandals, controversies, and stories that would make your head spin. Let's dive into the real stories behind 10 tracks that dominated radio for a brief moment, then vanished into music history obscurity. Apollo 100 was essentially a studio creation masterminded by British producer Mickey Dallin, who wanted to bridge classical music with contemporary rock. The group took Bach's Joy of Man's Desiring and transformed it into a synthesizer-driven rock masterpiece that climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. While Apollo 100 recorded several albums and even appeared on television shows, they never matched this success, and Dallin eventually moved into music production for television and film scoring. The controversial truth about Apollo 100, they were largely a fabricated band. Most of the musicians credited on their albums were session players who never toured together, and the group's live performances were often lip-synced affairs with hired musicians pretending to play along. The Cha-Cha-Chas were a Belgian group led by Gaston Boguer, and their hypnotic Jungle Fever featured an unforgettable combination of Latin percussion, electric sounds, and what became the song's signature element, heavy breathing and moaning throughout the track. The track reached number 8 in the US and became a dance floor staple across Europe, with DJs particularly loving its extended instrumental breaks. After their brief success, the band continued recording in Belgium, but never achieved international recognition again, with Boguer eventually becoming a music producer for local artists and opening his own recording studio. The breathing sounds that made Jungle Fever so distinctive weren't performed by the band members at all. They were recorded by Boguer's girlfriend at the time during what can only be described as an intimate studio session. Several radio stations initially banned the song, claiming it was too sexually explicit for daytime airplay, but the controversy only fueled its popularity and sales. So, don't let these stories disappear into history. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends who remember when radio actually played music like this. George Frayne, better known as Commander Cody, formed his band while studying art at the University of Michigan, blending country, rockabilly, and boogie-woogie into their unique sound. The group relocated to San Francisco during the height of the hippie movement, where they became regulars at venues like the Fillmore West. Hot Rod Lincoln, a cover of Charlie Ryan's earlier version,
Story of the hot rod race where the Fords and Lincolns sit in the pace, that story is true,
became their biggest hit, reaching number 9 on the charts with its storytelling style and infectious energy. The band continued touring and recording throughout the decades, with Frayne maintaining the Commander Cody persona until his passing in 2021, though they never achieved mainstream success again. Commander Cody was actually a very educated man with a master's degree in fine arts, but he deliberately cultivated a hillbilly image, complete with cowboy hat and boots. The irony wasn't lost on critics, who pointed out that this Michigan-born intellectual was essentially performing musical theater, playing a character that bore no resemblance to his actual background or upbringing. Malo was formed in San Francisco by Jorge Santana, younger brother of guitar legend Carlos Santana, creating a Latin rock fusion that captured the essence of the Chicano movement. Suavecito became an instant classic in Latino communities and crossed over to mainstream success, reaching number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song's success opened doors for other Latino artists and helped establish Latin rock as a legitimate genre. The band continued recording and performing, with Jorge Santana maintaining the group through various lineup changes until recent years, though they remained primarily a regional act after their initial success. The song's success created a massive rift between the Santana brothers that lasted for years. Carlos allegedly felt that Jorge was riding on his coattails and using the family name for commercial gain, leading to a bitter feud that prevented any collaboration between the brothers for over a decade. Industry insiders claim Carlos actively worked to prevent Ballo from getting major label support. The situation became so toxic that family gatherings were reportedly tense affairs, with their mother serving as the mediator between her famous sons. Sail Cat was the brainchild of John Weicker and Court Pickett, two musicians from Alabama who crafted their southern rock sound in the early 70s. The duo had been playing together in various bar bands around Muscle Shoals, the legendary recording hub that produced hits for artists like Aretha Franklin and Wilson Pickett. Motorcycle Mama perfectly captured the outlaw biker culture of the era, reaching number 12 on the charts with its driving rhythm and rebellious lyrics. This song was actually written about a real woman known as Motorcycle Mama who hung around the Alabama music scene and was notorious for her wild behavior and multiple relationships with band members. She allegedly threatened to sue the band for using her story without permission, but the legal action never materialized because her real identity was never officially confirmed. The woman in question was reportedly so volatile that several venues banned her from their premises, and musicians would warn each other about her unpredictable behavior. If you're enjoying these untold stories, hit that like button and subscribe for more music history that never made it into the official biographies. Share this with someone who lived through these times. They'll thank you for it. Danny O'Keefe was a singer-songwriter from Washington State who spent years playing clubs and coffee houses before Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues became his breakthrough hit. Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues, reaching number 9 on the charts. O'Keefe had been grinding it out of the folk circuit since the mid-1960s, playing everything from small-town bars to college campuses, developing his introspective songwriting style. O'Keefe continued writing and recording, with some of his songs covered by major artists like Elvis Presley and Judy Collins, but he never achieved another major hit of his own. His songwriting skills kept him working in the industry for decades, though always behind the scenes. O'Keefe wrote the song during a period of severe depression and alcohol abuse, and Good Time Charlie was actually his nickname for himself during his darkest moments. The irony of a song about depression and addiction becoming a hit wasn't lost on him. He later admitted that the success of the song probably saved his life by giving him a reason to get sober, though he struggled with substance abuse for years afterward. Even more revealing, O'Keefe disclosed that he wrote the song after a particularly bad night where he seriously considered ending his life, making the title track's success a literal lifeline that pulled him back from the brink of self-destruction. South African-born John Congos moved to London in the 1960s and created a unique sound that blended rock with African rhythms and instruments. He's Gonna Step on You Again featured distinctive tribal drumming and reached number 4 in the UK, though it had less success in America. The song's innovative use of African percussion instruments created a template that would later influence world music artists decades later. Congos continued recording and eventually returned to South Africa, where he became involved in the anti-apartheid movement through his music, though he never achieved another international hit. The song's percussion was recorded using actual African tribal drums that Congos had smuggled out of South Africa during the height of apartheid restrictions. He later revealed that he had hidden the drums in his luggage and lied to the customs officials about their origin, as cultural artifacts were heavily regulated by the apartheid government at the time. The risk was enormous. Getting caught could have resulted in imprisonment and permanent exile from his homeland. Stories was formed by Michael Brown, formerly of the Left Bank, who recruited Ian Lloyd as lead vocalist to create their pop rock sound. Brown had previously written Walk Away Renee and Pretty Ballerina for the Left Bank, establishing himself as a talented songwriter with a gift for memorable melodies. Brother Louie tackled the controversial subject of interracial relationships, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 despite its provocative theme. The song's success proved that American audiences were ready for more socially conscious pop music, even when it challenged prevailing attitudes about race. The song was actually banned by several Southern radio stations because of its subject matter, but this censorship backfired spectacularly when Northern stations began playing it specifically to make it a political statement. The controversy helped propel the song to the top of the charts, proving that sometimes scandal sells better than conventional promotion. What made the situation even more ironic was that Stories was essentially an all-white band singing about interracial romance, leading some critics to question whether they were exploiting racial tensions for commercial gain, rather than making a genuine artistic statement about social justice. Maureen McGovern was working as a secretary in Ohio when she was discovered by a music producer who needed a female vocalist for the disaster movie The Poseidon Adventure. The producer had heard a demo tape McGovern had made with local musicians, and her powerful voice immediately caught his attention. Her performance of The Morning After earned her both a #1 hit and an Academy Award, launching her from complete obscurity to international fame overnight. The song became the template for disaster movie themes throughout the 1970s. McGovern continued recording and performing, eventually establishing herself as a respected cabaret and Broadway performer. McGovern's overnight success created intense pressure that she wasn't prepared for, leading to a nervous breakdown during the height of her fame. She later revealed she had no idea how to handle sudden celebrity and spent months in therapy learning to cope with the dramatic change in her life circumstances. The situation became so overwhelming that she briefly considered retiring from music entirely, despite having just won an Oscar. Record company executives pushed her to capitalize on her success with increasingly inappropriate material that didn't suit her voice or image, creating additional stress that nearly destroyed her confidence as a performer. Dobie Gray had been recording for over a decade before Drift Away became his signature song, reaching #5 on the Billboard Hot 100 with its soulful plea for musical escape. The song became a standard covered by countless artists, including notable versions by Uncle Kracker and Mentor Williams. But Gray never achieved another major hit despite continuing to record and perform until his death in 2011. His distinctive voice and emotional delivery made him a favorite among fellow musicians, even if mainstream success eluded him. He remained active in the music industry as both a performer and songwriter, with his compositions recorded by other artists throughout his career. Gray wrote Drift Away during a period when he was struggling financially and considering leaving the music business entirely. The song's lyrics about finding solace in music were deeply personal, and he later admitted that if the song hadn't become a hit, he would have quit performing and returned to his previous job as a construction worker. What made the situation even more desperate was that Gray had recently gone through a costly divorce and was facing bankruptcy when the song finally broke through. The irony wasn't lost on him that a song about escaping through music literally became his escape from financial ruin and career disappointment. These 10 tracks prove that 1972 was more than just a year of music. It was a year of scandals, secrets, and stories that the record companies never wanted you to know. The artists behind these songs lived through experiences that were often more dramatic than anything in their lyrics. So, which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more untold stories from music history. Share this with someone who needs to know the real stories behind the songs they've been humming for decades.